Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 6 of my Dress Up Darling Season 2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright, so last we left off, I believe it had just become apparent to Gojo that he was going to have to retailor the suit to sort of more fit, I guess, Marin's proportions with the undergarments, whatever you would call them. And it seems to me that the pageant is swiftly approaching, which, you know, considering that Gojo is playing, if not the second most pivotal role in that, then, you know, he's got to work real hard. Probably not as hard as the first time he made any sort of cosplay, but, oh dear. So this is, the other issue. You know, I guess a multicolored rose is, a prop here that is necessary, but buying a real rose that matches that description is costly. So it's probably better to just try and spray paint it, but, I guess with my limited knowledge and use of spray paint, like, it rarely does what you want it to do unless what you want it to do is cover something. So if you're trying to, you know, use multiple different spray paints to get distinct colors, like, you know, you're probably not going to get very far unless you mask things really, really well. I mean, Gojo is even sort of saying, like, what if I painted each petal? Like, that might honestly be the better way to do it, but it's very labor-intensive. Although I guess, you know, it seems like everything's kind of been resolved by this other classmate who apparently knows how to make a rainbow rose. I mean, I guess seemingly she's just gonna go buy one. Okay, well, she bought a white rose, and, I don't know, I guess with, like, the offhand mention of chemistry, she's gonna do something here. Okay, so I guess, you know, it's like food coloring and rubber bands and all that stuff. Oh, that's interesting. So rather than, like, painting things or dyeing it deliberately, it's more like using the nature of the flower to suck up dye into petals and all that. Oh, that's very interesting. I guess it would kind of make sense that a flower would do that when prepared in that way. Because, like, flowers, they don't exactly have, like, veins per se, but they do have, like, blood vessels going up and down the stem. Or not even blood vessels, I guess whatever the equivalent would be. So, you know, it would make sense that seeing as how you put a flower in water to preserve it with the stem, you know, it would sort of suck up the dye, but I guess I never quite realized that it would incorporate the dye into the petals. Although I guess that would really only work with like a pale flower or a white flower. It's just, nice that it is the case. So this is interesting. Marin's dropping by to have dinner with Gojo and his grandfather. It's nice in a way, because, the grandfather recognizes that Gojo's working a lot, and therefore, he's trying to help him out, which is nice, even if, the old guy needs more help than vice versa. I guess it is nice that Marin's sort of interacting with the guy, because I don't know if we've seen too much of that. And I guess, really, if anyone's gonna sort of, approve of a potential relationship, it would be the grandfather, seeing as how we don't know much, if anything, about Marin's family. And I feel like, the grandfather, knowing Gojo, it's like, look, you gotta find yourself a nice girl. And fortunately, he has found Marin, but, we can't expect all the characters to know that right away. Alright, so there is some defeatism among the class, saying that, oh man, some of the other classes have better stuff going on, this might be difficult. I mean, they're saying this now, but what they don't realize is that, their class is gonna knock the beauty pageant right out of the park. I feel like, however stiff the competition may be, it's really all just going to pale in comparison to Marin, because, it really is kind of an unfair sort of a competition when you get down to it. Especially when the teacher said, oh yeah, no, you can cosplay and do all that. I mean, she didn't say it explicitly, but she did in effect. Alright, so this is good. Some members of the class, they recognize that things aren't over yet. You can still turn this around. You just have to have a little spirit. Well, that's interesting. They're encouraging Gojo to, eat and keep up his strength and all that. I'm wondering what he actually has left to do. Does he still have to tailor the suit? Because it seems like it's a little late in the game for that. I mean, I suppose it would make sense if he was here to help Marin get into costume and prepared for the pageant. But to still be doing last-minute tailoring at a time like this, I feel like that's really cutting it close. So this is kind of interesting, we're learning about Marin's attachment to the character. And essentially, the crux of it is that Ray here, he wants others to be their best, I guess. And so in accordance with that, with everyone else helping her, she now wants to win all the more. And she's not exactly laying it on thick here, but saying look, Gojo, you helped me with this makeup, you made this costume, so, in no small part, I'm doing it for you. Okay, so I guess Gojo did finish after all. And, the rose looks pretty nice. So I guess it really does seem like things are smooth sailing now. The costume's ready, it's just a matter of Marin getting properly dressed and made up for it. It does seem like everything is smooth sailing, but I can't help but feel like another shoe is going to drop at some point here. Although I guess, the other shoe in this case might just be everyone kind of wants to watch the transformation take place here. I mean, I can't say I blame them being interested in the process of all of this, but, I get the distinct impression that Gojo wasn't expecting spectators. And in fact, spectators, which appear to be the whole class, are probably going to have a detrimental effect here. I mean, the poor guy, he probably doesn't have the heart to tell him to go away. And even if he did, he probably just wouldn't do it either. Yeah, I mean, already we're kind of seeing things start to unravel here. Like, he's not operating under ideal conditions. I mean, I want to say it's like akin to stage fright here. Like, he has to essentially perform in front of all these people. And, you know, he hadn't bargained on that. He wasn't prepared for it. But I guess things are made worse given that this is all the preparation for the pageant. You know, the class is relying by now on him to make sure this all goes swimmingly. And I guess all that confidence everyone had in him, you know, like, come on, Gojo, you can do it. Like, that's all kind of backfiring, I guess. Because, you know, everything is essentially on his shoulders right now. And if he screws it up, then it really is all on him. And, you know, I don't think the class is gonna hate him for it or anything, but I could put myself in his position and recognize that this would be, you know, just the sort of stress I really don't want in my life. I guess fortunately for Gojo and for everyone else, you know, Marin sort of snapped him out of his funk. It's like, hey, look, you ready to get to work? And I guess, well, he is ready, apparently. You know, he's getting right down to it. I mean, I feel like he's not really ignoring the class, but I feel like that would probably be the best thing to do. Just pretend that, like, no one else is here and getting down to business like that. So I guess even though he is sort of operating under these less than ideal conditions, I mean, surely he'll perform, right? Like, he is determined if nothing else. And, you know, he's done this sort of thing before. You know, the cosplay and the makeup and all that. Alright, so this is something, you know, Gojo sort of realized, how do I want to phrase this, his station in life, I guess? Or, you know, he's sort of, I don't want to say he's found solace in it. Like, I guess, well, maybe he's found his place, I guess. Because it's not like he was striving to be great in and of himself for his own sake, but he sort of realizes here that, like, look, I can play a supporting role if it is to help Marin. And coming to that understanding that, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be the support. You know, I think that's something. And there are probably quite a few people who could use that advice. You know, I guess it's just lucky for Gojo that he's found it relatively early in life. Yeah, not sure I'm exactly articulating that correctly, because, like, it makes it seem like Gojo had failed and is sort of settling for this, but that's really not the case, you know? It's more that he's, I guess, kind of understanding his purpose now, maybe. I mean, that's not really it either, I guess. So it's interesting that we're just sort of like skipping right to the pageant, right to where Marin walks on stage. I mean, that's not strange in and of itself, you know, Marin's the character we care about, but, I guess I sort of assumed we would have seen some of the other characters to compare her to. Because naturally, you know, the cosplay is top-notch, it's knocking everyone out, but, I feel like we might have gained something seeing her compared to some of the other students. Just because I get the feeling that, you know, this cosplay is, at least an order of magnitude better than the others, you know? I mean, it seems like they're not exactly rigorous judges of all this, you know, they're sort of like gauging this based off of cheering. But, you know, with that in mind, like, I think Marin's the clear winner here. So that's something, you know, Gojo, I feel like he's counting himself short here, you know. Like, he recognizes that Marin has this sort of natural, radiant beauty that is almost supernatural in a way, but, like, I guess, well, it is true she possesses that, he's also sort of discounting his own role in this, because, without his support, Marin would still be naturally beautiful, yes, but not to this exact degree. And I guess, Gojo is sort of bringing up the word beauty again here. This was something that I really, really appreciated about the first season, where Gojo talks about how words mean things and you shouldn't use words carelessly when you don't really mean them. Beauty being chief among them, because that was something he used for, these master-crafted Hina dolls specifically, and then, he later used it to describe Marin, which was appropriate, even if he was sort of like, not cognizant of it at the time. And then he's sort of thinking about that again, sort of viewing Marin in the same light as a Hina doll, in that she is a work of art, and, the word beauty coming to mind. I think that's indicative of a realization, I suppose. Like, I feel like we're not going to get anything in this episode that's more concretely romantic than that, but, we're being spoiled a little bit, So I guess not to be understated here is that Marin had, I guess, a bit of a routine planned out here. I recall something to that effect, saying like, you do something on stage in addition to dressing up, but it seems like she's reenacting something from the manga. And I guess it's really incredible that this manga is so popular with the audience that they're all sort of getting involved with it too. If it's like a call and response or whatever it is. And I feel like Marin's kind of cheating here a little bit. Like, I don't think the judge is going to be very impartial after something like this. Although that said, if Marin wasn't like number one by a landslide, then there's just something wrong with this school. Wow. So everything was really good when, after the whole thing's done, everyone is just still blown away by the whole thing, by the performance, by the effort everyone put in. And now people are asking for like makeup tips and things like that. Because I guess if you don't know, like, there's probably a whole lot that goes into it. Not that I know or anything. Oh, Gojo. The poor guy is too modest for his own good, saying like, oh, I don't deserve to go to the after party because I didn't really help on anything. It's like, dude, they wouldn't have won the pageant without you, Like, he's essentially the star player here. Without him, the whole thing would have crashed and burned. It's nice that everyone just sort of reassures him too, because like, he's sort of in this position where he's never really been very popular, but his talents are sort of, I guess, getting people to warm up to him. And, fortunately, they're not taking no for an answer here. Like, I can sort of relate to this, where it's like, I probably wouldn't want to go to the party just given my temperament. But at the same time, I recognize that it would probably be a good thing to do, even if I don't want to do it. And so everyone else, not giving him an out here, like, I think that's good. Even if he was really just, being more modest. Okay. Yeah, I really don't blame Gojo for this. Like, not being used to all that and just sort of, like, taking a breather where it's nice and quiet. Although it is nice that Marin went to go find him, because, really, if he does want to spend time with anyone here, I imagine it would be Marin, So it really does seem like things are sort of winding down to a close. The question is, after this cosplay and after the cultural festival, what's next? Because, I don't really know where this story is going here, but I hope there's more, nifty cosplay. Although I feel like things are going to be getting a little bit more romantic if, Marin remembering that scene from the one photo shoot is any indication. Like, man, that was a scene that lit the internet on fire for quite a while. Like, even to this day, people still mention that scene as something real spicy and unexpected. So it is nice that Marin and Gojo are having a little impromptu date here. Because, sure, they're sort of leaving the party and all that, but to go, hit up a claw machine, hang out for a little bit, it is kind of like a date, even if that's not what they intended. And I guess now Marin wants to codify everything by taking pictures together. And, she just sort of went off to do this, without really asking for any input, but I can't say I blame her. It would be a nice thing to do. And I feel like the stilted way she's asking is that little bit more endearing, Because normally she's so confident about all this, but I don't know. The vulnerability is appealing. Although, unfortunately, her plan is kind of backfired because now there are other people and they think it's just an open invitation for everyone, really. So, yeah, well, we got a little romance, It can't be that we're getting everything in one episode, We gotta space it out a little bit. At least Gojo's having a good day, He looks genuinely happy in that photo. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.